name is Joe, and this is Sierra Specialty Auto. Welcome back to the shop. Recently I've been doing some electrical work on one of our outbuildings. We call it a barn, but it's just a storage building. No animal facilities in it, just a big covered space. This work included the installation of a couple of exterior receptacles. I used GFCI receptacles, and I bought weatherproof covers to go over those receptacles. Unfortunately, I bought the wrong ones. By the time I realized they were the wrong ones, I had already taken out the little foam insert in the shape of a Decora receptacle. So I didn't feel comfortable taking them back. They're not very expensive, but I hate to throw stuff away. So I'm going to spend probably more time than they're worth converting them so that they will work on a Decora receptacle. I believe that the same casting molds were used for either the style I bought, which is for a round single device, or for the rectangular Decora. I can see the molding marks in the cover, and so I'm just going to remove what I need for it to fit over the Decora cover, and I think it'll work just fine. First, I want to thank James Kilroy, J. Kilroy, for sending me a couple of his channel stickers. And so now I can say Kilroy is here. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate that. Here's what I got. Weatherproof cover with a hole for a large round device, such as a 50 amp dryer plug perhaps. And here's the foam gasket, which I tore out to fit the Decora rectangular receptacle before I realized that these were wrong. I think you can see in here the pattern that's embossed in the casting for the Decora receptacle. So I'm going to just chuck this up in a vise and or mount this up in a vise and use a 3/16 end mill. These radii on the corners, according to my Starrett gauge, are 3/32 radius, so a 3/16 end mill should work perfectly. These are normally secured with a number 6 screw in these little holes here at the end of the receptacle tabs. I think for exterior use with this big cover, I think that's a little fragile. These receptacles are mounted on a wood wall. There are drill points marked on here, 4 of them. While I've got it set up in the milling machine, I'm going to drill those out to 3/16 and mount the cover with sheet metal screws, round head or pan head Phillips sheet metal screws. That'll be a lot more secure. I'll feel really good about that. So let's go over to the milling machine, look at the setup I got. I will say these are not very regular. In this phase you can see the variation. I've set the other one up with a 1/2 inch parallel under this surface and a 5/8 parallel under this surface, and that makes it set fairly level in the vise. Certainly close enough for the work we're going to be doing. The dimensions we're looking for are let's call that 1 300 for a slip fit. It's actually a little under that. 1 300 by 2, and let's call that 325. So I'm going to write that down. 1 300 by 2 and 625. And now let's measure twice before we cut once. 2 and 625, right? 1 and 300. That gives about 10 thousandths play in each direction. So we'll find center of the device and then subtract 3/16 and go half either way. I think I have all my tooling in place. I have the mill spindle set to about 1300 RPM, which ought to work fine for the edge finder. Let's find the center of that hole. That's close enough for this job. If this were critical, I would go around that pattern once again, considering that I'm on the inside of a radius there. But we're plenty close enough for what we're doing here. I'm going to write my dimensions on the device here to keep them right in front of me. 0.556 on Y, 1.219. That's the dimension of the receptacle face minus the diameter of the end mill divided by 2. So let's get this up a little higher. When I'm doing this kind of job, I like to have what I call a sanity check. I like to have a layout on the part so I know that I'm at least in the ballpark. This already has the layout on it. It has the molding mark for the rectangular opening, so I can work off of that. And I'm going to run the spindle speed up to around 2000 RPM for this small cutter, and see if I can do it dry. If it doesn't seem to be working, if the cutter loads up, then I'll turn on the mister. something's wrong here. The casting marks must not be anywhere near accurate. Let's take a quick look at that. It doesn't look like the casting marks are anywhere near in the ballpark. Yeah, this rectangular surface is a lot smaller than what is cast on here. So those that layout was worthless. I'm only 4 thousandths over, so I'll have to back up. 219. Glad I caught that. I just almost, well, it just would have been not very pretty. It wouldn't have been a very workmanlike job, but it would have been usable. All right, so I'll continue working to my numbers and see if this doesn't come out about right. That's perfect. Very close to a bozo moment over here. Unfortunately, I only got 4 thousandths past my mark. That's just absolutely not significant. That's a perfect fit. So now I'm going to switch back to the chuck, and I'm going to drill these 4 holes for sheet metal screws. And I'm just going to eyeball the layout on these holes. Not critical enough to bother trying to lay it out. I just get about centered on each of those drill points. Actually, that looks like it was probably pretty standard. These are about 15/16 off center, and these were about 1 5/8 off center. So that was a fairly easy pattern to identify. Now let's get this thing out of here and deburr it, see if it'll fit on the wall. Well, I suppose all the electricians who were watching were hollering at me saying, those holes are going to be inside the box. Well, sure enough, those holes are inside the box. So I had to go back and drill a couple of more holes. All right. All right, that'll work. Even though it's just got the two number 6 screws, it's fairly solid. Yeah, it'll work well enough. All right, go do one more, and this job will be finished. Well, there's another quick job taken to a reasonably successful conclusion. A few extra holes, but they won't matter where they are. Again, I want to thank Jay Kilroy for sending his stickers. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. If you're not already watching him and subscribed, you need to be. He's a pretty sharp guy, does some neat stuff. That'll do it for this video. I hope you'll comment. I hope you'll subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you'll come back and visit the shop again. Thank you for watching.